What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. You can never force nobody else to wear them.
Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out, and I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. I got one heck of an interesting news story to bring to you tonight, and I have no idea even what to make of it. I mean, it is, well, when you see the details, it's pretty bizarre. Don't have a lot outside of that as far as updates, as far as us or anything. I spent most of the weekend working in Adobe Substance Painter, and I pretty much dove into that on my time off. Because I'm learning how to use it even better and how to do things correctly with it. So I'm getting there step by step. It's what it is, I suppose. There's a lot of learning, big learning curve with it, and you know, I will eventually get enough figured out to be able to. I'm close to be able to really do some really killer stuff. So the problem is sometimes things don't decompile right, I guess is the best way to put it. And sometimes there's things missing. Like I've got a part on this ornithopter thing that it's not anywhere on any model file. It's not, and it's got to be because it shows it. It's not on any model file, not on any texture file, and it's got me at a loss. But anyway, totally different subject. Before we get into this wacky story involving this woman being held captive inside a St. Louis church, I do want to bring up one thing. I was going to make a video today on it, and I didn't. There was a video that was put out today, twice. And dude is out of his mind. And I would just like to dispel that because dude is way out of his mind. Now, I think that there's a lot of people out of their mind in the prepping genre on both sides of this topic. I'm talking about tourniquets. I think that the people out there saying that you can't get a decent, a usable tourniquet without paying $30 a piece for it, I think they're out of their damn minds. I'll repeat what I've said before. If you're in the market to buy several tourniquets, what I would do, I would go to Amazon. Don't get the cheapest ones on Amazon. Don't go for the cheapest. But you don't have to buy a North American Rescue either. Find what appears to be a quality-made tourniquet. You know, the cat-style tourniquet. And order one. Let it come in and check it over good. See if, I can't remember the toggle. See if you can bend it easily or break it easily. If you can, then you know not to buy that brand. If you can't, well, guess what? You probably got a good one. And I'd put it on and I'd try it out, 10, 15, 20 times. And I'm not joking. I would honestly put it on 10 to 20 times and, squeeze till it hurts. Do it right. Actually stop the blood flow in a limb. I would try both the arm and the leg, and I'd repeatedly do it over, say, a weekend's time. I'd probably do it, I would suggest a minimum of 20 times. Just to make sure. And then after 20 times of putting that tourniquet on yourself and, stopping the flow of blood, because that's always a fun thing to do, if it holds up, guess what? I think you're going to be able to save somebody's life with it using it once, right? Then you know which one you can order a bunch of. But if you can save, a third or in some cases even a half per tourniquet, you'd be foolish not to. This car salesmanship that goes on the YouTubes is a little bit crazy. I don't have a North American Rescue tourniquet. I've got an Amazon cheapie. I've put that tourniquet on, and I've wound it up many times. it hasn't even shown the slightest bit that it's going to fail. And it's a cheap tourniquet from Amazon. I assure you there are some cheap ones on Amazon that aren't worthy. That's why I say if you're going to buy several, buy one. We'll let it come in, check it over, make sure it's all good. And if it is, then buy however many you need. If it's a piece of junk and it doesn't hold up to your test, then chuck it in the trash and try again. There are different manufacturers that put out different quality products. That's a fact. But you don't have to have a North American Rescue. All that's a bunch of chest-beating nonsense just so somebody can sell their own kits. Now, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. I told you there was the other end. MD Creekmore put out a video today about his EDC. And in his EDC, he has a shoestring. And he's telling you all the uses for the shoestring. You could use it as a weapon. Yeah. And he also mentions that you could use it for a tourniquet. Will a shoestring work for a tourniquet? Abso-freaking-lutely. Will a tourniquet work on you? Probably not. And he talks about, oh, you take it, you tie it up. By the time you got your knots tied in your tourniquet, you've done bled out enough that you can't think straight enough or have enough strength and energy and mental fortitude to get that tourniquet on and get it tight. And then what happens if, you grabbed a stick or something, a screwdriver or something, and you used it for a toggle and you got it all tight, but you done lost enough blood that you pass out. Now what, homie? Don't substitute a tourniquet for a shoestring. Don't substitute a weapon for a shoestring. I'm not telling you not to have a shoestring in your EDC. It ain't a bad idea. But the reasoning and the uses that he was giving as examples for the shoestring were garbage. So I would say that if you do choose to use to have a shoestring, personally I'll just say have a little bit of paracord. But if you do choose a shoestring over paracord for whatever reason, not a bad idea, and it'll work great for tying stuff up. And shoestrings are pretty strong devices. They'll do quite a bit. But I wouldn't bank on trying to use it for self-defense, and I certainly wouldn't bank on that idea for saving your life if you're bleeding out. So again, I'm not saying that it won't work. I'm just saying that if you're the one you need to apply that tourniquet to, you're probably not going to have the best of luck making it happen. Even when you have a Cat 7 staged and ready to go on you, it's still a matter of as fast as you can possibly get the job done before you lose enough blood that you lose consciousness or, strength or what have you. It doesn't take long. It does not take long. Not if you've got a serious bleed. So I wanted to say that. It's, the ridiculousness on YouTube and the prepping channels is never ending. It really, truly is. And I know a lot of people don't like it when I call it out. I don't give two shits. Somebody has to call it out. Somebody does. And if I got to be the jack-off, I'll be the jack-off. One of the reasons why the Father put me where I am and gave me the task that he gave me is because I don't need approval from other people. I don't need to be liked. I don't need to be accepted. I don't give a shit. I never have. Never will. It is what it is. I was raised to do for myself. I was raised to live a life in which you didn't constantly need other people. I was raised that I could work on my own stuff, so I didn't have to literally waste money by paying somebody else that's got a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of experience when I could get off my dead ass and I could get that knowledge and I could get that experience so that I could put it to work for myself. I also think it's an awful good thing to be able to put to use for other people. So, and I'm not the kind of person that looks to profit from everything I do. You know, there's a good chance if I see somebody that needs help working on their car, I'm going to pitch in and I don't want a damn thing for it. That's the way I am. I mean, if we were all that way, this world would be a much different place. You know, tithing in the Bible, so many people associate it with money. Biblical tithing has nothing to do with money. That's just what people in the church business want you to think. Has to do with your time. See, and they take that stretch. Well, 10% of how much you make, because that's 10% of your time. No, that's not what the intent of that is. No, 10% of your time. Money is not to be exchanged. 10%, money is not to be exchanged with anything with the Father. Nothing. And Yeshua should have made that pretty damn clear, but I guess not. So, by doing that, by helping others and not expecting anything in return for helping others, that's tithing. And if everybody gave 10% of their time helping others without expecting anything in return, nobody would be in need. And that was the whole intent of it to begin with. But, thanks to the organized churches and the doctrines and dogmas of man, everybody goes and they pay their 10% in the offering plate, and they're good. They're good. I hope that works for them when they speak to the Father. I really do. Anyway, let's talk about some other craziness involving churches. And, I mean, the whole damn thing is bizarre, but trust me, there's a part of it that I just can't. Yeah, okay. So, let me take you on over to the web view. Says 3 charged with holding woman captive inside St. Louis church. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Just by the headline. Oh, just wait. 3 people are facing felony kidnapping and assault charges after allegedly beating and holding a woman captive inside a church in the Patch neighborhood. This is St. Louis area. St. Louis prosecutors over the weekend charged 32-year-old Posse Harry, and I'm going to say these names probably wrong, of St. Louis, Grace Capindo, 28, of Arnold, and Mamunga Fungamali, 25, whose hometown is not listed in court records, each with counts of second-degree kidnapping and third-degree assault. Now, since I had no clue what I was looking at with names there, I did a little Google flu. And it would appear that certainly the Grace Capindo, the Mamunga Fungabali, and even the Posse Harry are African. They're African names. And because I had no clue. I didn't know if I was looking at African names, if I was looking at Middle Eastern names. I had no idea. Now, the Posse Harry has actually more of a, I think it is a Norwegian origin. However, a lot of people apparently in Africa use that name. So, beats me. I didn't know. I was just trying to figure out what it was I was looking at. Well, this next is a doozy. Court and jail records do not show any of the suspects to be in custody. no bond warrants have been issued for their arrest. So when they say 3 people are facing felony kidnapping charges and all this good stuff, and apparently the prosecutor has charged them, but for whatever reason didn't feel it's necessary to put out a warrant. I wished I had judges like that. Anyway, it goes on to say, according to St. Louis Police probable cause statement, officers on Wednesday responded to a call regarding a woman who had been found bound by ropes and bleeding from the head. Police stated that while the victim was not a native speaker, she was able to communicate well in English and told officers she had been held against her will at a church in the 8300 block of Minnesota Avenue. The church was not named in the police statement. The address listed in the police statement for the church is a residential home. It's also not clear how the victim was found and contacted authorities. First Alert 4 has asked St. Louis Police for clarification and is awaiting a response. The victim told police she was held against her will in a room in the church and given only water, according to the statement. Police said she had an obvious head wound and told officers it was from being assaulted. Police and the victim went to the church where she showed officers the room where she was confined. Inside was a bottle of water and a bucket used as a makeshift toilet, according to the statement. At the church, the victim identified the suspect as 3 people responsible for assaulting and kidnapping her, the statement reads. Okay. Interesting. So, they've actually got the statement there. I guess Randy Trim is the name. Wait. Hang on. Okay. Randy Trim, I guess, is the prosecutor. I was looking to see if it had a name of the female, of the victim. Okay. Now, again, it doesn't say anywhere how she was found or anything like that. This is a very confusing case. It really truly is. And I'm going to dig a little bit more myself. So I would like to know how it was that she was found and whatnot as well. But my biggest question is, how come there's not even warrants out for the arrest of 3 people that were involved in this? And I have to ask, is this more part of that woke nonsense? Or is there something else with this that maybe they suspect she's not being on the level or something like that? Because, I mean, that's a possibility too. But I would think that if she wasn't being on the level, she wouldn't have been able to take them to a quote-unquote church and show them a room where she was given a bucket. You know, and it says here, she was all, let's see, after responding to that address with the victim, she informed us of the location of the room in which she was confined. In that room was a bottle of water and a bucket with feces and urine. So it's not just her saying that she was given one to use. They actually have evidence that that's what it was used for. Now, again, I don't even know where to begin, what to make of this. Oh wait, we do have a name. Maybe. Oh, no. It was just uploaded by this person. Dang it. Okay. Well, I will dig. They do have a number here. And I will see if I can dig and find anything out. Very interesting. And again, I have to question, is this a case of woke stuff? The reason why they're not putting warrants out for the arrest? Or is it that they maybe are going to be adding some charges? I mean, there's got to be more to this. And it makes no sense to me how this much of it would be given out and not willing to let folks know. I mean, this is a pretty serious accusation here. And I can only think, given the small amount of information that we have, because it said specifically that she's not a native speaker, but knew English. It sounds to me like she's probably from Africa, with, as they are. And it's just very, very, very interesting, to be honest. Unreal. So anyway, I wanted to bring you that story. I thought that was kind of bizarro world. And I am going to keep an eye on that. And I am going to try to do a little digging with that number there. And see what I can find out. Go ahead, man. I'm already yawning. But I've got, 7 more tabs open. I'm just going to kind of run through them. Make for as easy of a night as possible. I'm tired. I'm wore out. I've been getting up early. And I this morning I actually fell back asleep for a little bit. But when I wake up, I might as well get up. And man, 4:30, that's a little too early. But, some of it's dreams. Yesterday, not this morning, but yesterday morning. And I can't even remember off the top of my head what the dream was now. But that's why I woke up. It was a dream. So, and it sucksola, because what happens is my, howdy, Watchman. Absolutely calm before the storm. Yeah, what happens is when I go to bed, I'm on a heating pad, and for the last several nights, I've been taking ibuprofen to help out, and because with the temperatures all wacky and stuff, makes my joints pretty sore. So I get to sleep and all is good, but then when I wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, heating pad's off, ibuprofen's out of my system, and by the time I could get ibuprofen back in my system to take the edge off, I would already be awake. So I just get up and make my coffee and get up for the day. So it makes me pretty tired by about now, though. Anywho, let's continue on, as they say. Putin defeated U.S. plan for Russia, says Newland. Now, she's beating on the war drum here really hard and trying to give as many reasons why we should support Ukraine, essentially. But it says here, Vladimir Putin's Russia is not the Russia that we wanted, acting U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland has told CNN. Nuland explained that Washington wanted a compliant leader, a puppet leader, in the Kremlin who would westernize the country. It's it's not the Russia that, frankly, we wanted. And I think this is crazy that they even are even saying these things. To me, it's bizarre. Howdy, much tested. Nothing wrong with cooking, man. I cooked fried chicken earlier, and fried chicken, mashed taters, and broccoli. It was good. Let's see. It's not the Russia that, frankly, we wanted, Newland told CNN's Christiane Amanpour, and I know I got that name wrong, on Thursday. We wanted a partner that was going to be westernizing, that was going to be European, but that's not what Putin has done. I just am at a complete loss as to why we think that we can install puppet presidents in every other country. It blows my mind. Putin's predecessor, Boris Yeltsin, enjoyed Washington's support as he oversaw the rushed privatization of the Russian economy in the 1990s. Yeltsin's reforms saw the rise of the so-called oligarchs who amassed huge fortunes selling Russian natural resources to Western buyers, while the majority of the population dealt with declining life expectancy, soaring crime and homicide rates, and the collapse of the ruble. Really? Don't you just love propaganda? Putin, who first took office in 2000, is widely credited with taming the oligarchs. Well, yeah, that is true. They did have all that before Putin took over. Imposing public order and reversing the economic and social decline of the 1990s. Putin initially sought friendly relations with the West, telling American journalist Tucker Carlson earlier this month that he asked then U.S. President Bill Clinton whether Russia could one day join NATO only to be rejected. And to me, it's crazy because that's true. They tried to be friends with the West. Putin tried to be friends with the West, and it doesn't make sense to me. You know, they're saying that he wasn't Western enough, or he wasn't European enough. And I'm not saying that he ever would be, but should we expect him to be? He's kind of Russian. He happens to be Russian. And not only that, but he comes from a Russia that was a lot more stern than even what they are now, although they do seem to be edging their way closer and back towards the crazy control. You talking about the Watchman? You talking about Civil War videos, like the United States Civil War videos? Yeah, I don't know on this Civil War thing. I mean, is it possible? Oh, absolutely. I think that there are definitely some buttons that could be pushed that would definitely get us there. Do I think that we're on that doorstep right now? No. And in fact, I think it would take quite a bit to really get us there. There's a lot of people that talk big game. And here's the thing, and I've said this before. In order to involve yourself with something like a civil war, there's one thing that's certainty, and that's that there is a lot of sacrifice that will need to be made. And I don't think either side of the equation is ready to give up very much. I don't think they're ready to sacrifice. The only time that you're really in that kind of a position is when people are put in a position to where they really have nothing more to lose. And while I don't think the American people have a whole hell of a lot more to lose, they still got some things. And because of the insanity with debt and all of that stuff. They're able to BS themselves into thinking that they still have things. And when I say that, I'm talking about, if you're paying on a home, you don't own that home. You might own some equity in that home, but you don't own that home. If you're still making a car payment, you don't own that car. You may have equity in it, but you don't own it. And if you've got a 30-year loan on a home and you paid 20 years on it, but no longer able to make the payments, I guarantee you that by the time they get done with you, the bank that is, even though you paid 20 years on that home, you're probably going to walk away with nothing or very little of anything if you have to default on that loan. So I have to ask the question, do you own it? Even if you have a little bit of equity in it, the banks, unfortunately, are not good people. Not good people, not good companies. And I see you saying about the money running out. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. Now, see, we don't have a lot of that stuff here where we are. As far as we do. It depends on where you live. Like our rent switches back and forth. It's 4 months or 3 months, something like that. It's $400 a month. During the coldest part of the winter, it's $400 a month. The rest of the year, it's $500 a month. And that's what we pay for rent. And no, we don't have no big luxurious, place. It's about 400 square foot. It's a small one-bedroom house. But it's a cozy little house. It's nice. It's not falling apart. It's not, it's well taken care of. And our landlord is one that if I've got any problem with anything, call him up. He's on it, which something I try not to do. In fact, if I can take care of something, I typically will. But I know that's not the case a lot of places. So, oh, I agree. I agree. When you're saying that not addressing the cancer of the body of Christ, but there's kind of a catch-22 with that. First of all, in order to address that, people have to be receptive to it. And people aren't receptive to it. So, Watchman, I know about that, about the food and all of that. I know about the dyes that they use in the food that help enable that, and goes far and wide there. GMOs, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that stuff. That's why we're really careful about the stuff that we eat. We're really careful about, and all of the water we consume is filtered. No fluoride, no nothing. All the heavy metals are taken out as well. Pretty much all of our meals are made from scratch. Or as much scratch. I don't make my own spaghetti sauce and all that stuff. But we don't buy spaghetti ready to go. Just dump it in a bowl and you're good, like today, I've made fried chicken and broccoli and mashed potatoes, Another meal that we have quite often is, spaghetti. We have chili. I make homemade dumplings. So, doing everything we can to stay away from the very foods that is doing those kinds of things. But there is a bigger cancer, if you will, than the foods. And it's a bigger problem than the foods. And that's the TV, the television. I think the television is probably one of the most damning things to our society. There is so much junk that is poured out on that. And it was back in 2006 I noticed something that was happening in entertainment, if you will, on TV. And I stepped away all the way back then. And I don't know why. I guess there was a game show that I started watching called The Mole. And no, I'm not worried about that. You'd have to know our landlord, man. No. If the entire nation went tits up tomorrow, and there was no way anybody would be able to make any money or anything like that to be able to pay their rent and stuff, I guarantee you we ain't got to worry about nothing. Just the way it is. If it was truly an actual full-blown SHTF, nah, we wouldn't have to worry about nothing. So, most people probably so. You're probably 100% correct with that. But we don't live in common area, and we got a lot of really good people here. So, that's why I'm here. If it was any different, I wouldn't be here. But when I say here, I don't necessarily mean this home. I mean this area. We've got just an absolutely incredible mindset of the people around here. And while, I can't sit here and say, it's a community of prepared people, because that would be a bold-faced lie. There's a lot of people that, they can't see the forest for the trees. But at the same time, though, the type of people they are is they're good people. And, one of the big things in this whole big preparedness topic is, people talk about having groups, big groups of people and all that stuff. And that's fine. But there's still a fact that you're not going to change, and that is, no one knows how they're going to react in a situation until they're in that situation. That's a fact. And so even people that have the best groups, the best mutual aid groups, the best whatever, there's still a certain number of people that when that time comes, they aren't going to be able to handle it. They're not going to be able to manage it. And they're going to wig out. So the idea of putting together, I think groups are important. I'm in 2 different groups myself. But at the same time, I keep that understanding that any one of the people can wig out. Any one of the people. Do I think I'll wig out? Nah. But I've had one hell of a life. And I've already been tested in probably some of the biggest ways that a man can be tested. And I'm still here. And I don't know what else, not that I'm challenging anything, but I don't know what worse really could happen in my life. When you have your children yanked away from you and you haven't seen them for so long, that's probably one of the worst damn things that can happen to a man. So, as far as the world going tits up and the stores not being open and there being no power and bring it. Bring it. I see, not that I'm wishing for it, but at the same time, we had a little discussion about God's love in comments back and forth. And I do truly try to look at the world in the eyes of God's love. And it's time for a cleansing. It is most certainly time for a cleansing. And that's just a fact. I'm not going to get so bent out of shape when the Father brings it. Not going to be bent out of shape for it. Why? Because I've been slapped around by this world enough that I'm not one of the people that's going to miss society as it is. So, we'll see. We'll see. But as far as Civil War being on our doorstep, nah, I'll believe it when I see it. There's a lot of people that are really hammering that message out there, and no. There would have to be something major happen, something sudden happen. I don't even think if they arrested Donald Trump and threw his ass in prison before the election, I don't even think that would be enough for a civil war in the United States. There are a lot of people that would talk a lot of smack about it, but I'll ask this. How well is that New York City trucker boycott doing? Yeah, you know why you don't hear about it anymore? Because it was a bunch of crap. Just like I got run into the ground for saying in the beginning. So, I agree on stuff you're saying, especially with the rents and stuff like that. It's crazy. And again, that's why I'm here. Now we do have landlords like that here. There are places here that are extremely high to rent. There are places that want a lot more than they're worth to rent, but not all of them. Not all of them. So there are still some good landlords here. Still some cheaper rental properties. You're not really going to find much cheaper than what we've got here. But we've got a good landlord. This guy could probably charge quite a bit more for his properties. I agree, Friday. I agree. Burns, Oregon. That added a fair amount of wisdom to my belt for sure. For sure. And I don't think that there are enough people even in the same mindset going in the same direction as what there was then. Look at what's going on right now, as a matter of fact, with Ammon Bundy. Right? They done took his home. They took his bank accounts. They pretty much took much of the man's life. And who's he got standing behind him now? Not much of anybody. Not much of anybody. And I think that speaks a lot. I think that really speaks a lot. Because, I mean, what he lost all of that for is nonsense. For simply supporting and backing up a family and helping them make sure that their child wasn't kidnapped by state services? That's insane. But I get all that, Watchman. I don't, it's the Father's time. And I don't try to prophesy on that level because, well, quite frankly, we're not supposed to. So, that is what it is. I don't sit there and I don't worry about things that ain't. So, that would lead for a very unproductive and unhappy, and not that I'm happy anyway, but I mean, I'm not miserable, so I don't want to make myself miserable by sitting there and trying to prophesy on things. It's the Father's time, and he says very clearly that none of us know that time, that hour, and we're not going to know that time, that hour. And I trust what the Father says, so I'm not going to sit there and try to go around the Father and guess, oh, it's going to be this, and it's going to be then, and it's going to be... No, as close as I'll get is that Revelation describes pole shift. And I will agree with Ben Davison that probably sometime around the late 2030s into the 2040s sometime. And that's as close as I'll get. But that's when the end is. Civil war in the United States, or if we get into a world war, that is not the end. That is not the biblical end. I think that we are right on the doorstep of tribulation, and I'll say that, but I'm not prophesying it. And largely the reason why I say that is because of those dates, late 2030s, 2040s, being pole shift, which would be the technical quote-unquote end. So you go 7 years out from that, right? So I think we're on the doorstep of tribulation, but we're not there yet. We'll know it when we're there, and that's a fact. We'll know it when we're there. First, I think many nations will fall, and then we'll be put there. So, but other than that, I don't try to go around the Father and guess stuff that He clearly told us not to do. So, that's just it. I take the Father's word for the Father's word. I don't sit there and try to work it around so I can do this or work it around so I can. No, I don't involve myself with that. No, sir. Anyway, I'm gonna get through on this news. Oh, I agree. He's showing people. I think he's definitely separating the wheat and the tares right now. But that works in every direction too. So, all right. Most Ukraine aid goes right back to U.S. It says Newland, and I just love this as a way to try to sell the United States his this conflict. Try to sell the United States, the people of the United States, on why their tax dollars should go to Ukraine. Washington spends most of the money allocated as aid for Ukraine on weapons production at home, acting U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland said in an interview with CNN this week. Commenting on the pending aid package, which Congress failed to approve before going on winter recess, Nuland said she has strong confidence that it will pass as it addresses America's own interests. We have to remember that the bulk of this money is going right back to the U.S. economy to make weapons, including good-paying jobs in some 40 states across the U.S., she stated, adding that support for Ukraine in America is still strong. And I don't know what she's smoking, but if she could spare a bag of it, no. I mean, it's, no, support in Ukraine and the United States is not very strong at this point. A lot of the people that, they had in their quote-unquote report or support, by putting the Ukrainian flag on their social media profile, not so much anymore. I don't see the Ukrainian flag hardly at all on Facebook. So, coffee. Yeah, I don't see it at all on Facebook hardly anymore. So, and I have a wide range of friends, so. The Ukraine conflict may be decided in months, says Borrell. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell has warned Ukraine's Western backers that in the coming months the war may be decided. To avoid defeat, Borrell claimed, EU member states must send more cash and weapons to Kiev. Asked by Spain's El País newspaper who was winning in Ukraine, Borrell said that Russia has not won the war, but they have not yet lost it. However, the newspaper pointed out that according to Western intelligence reports, Russia has prepared well and Ukraine is losing ground. We have to do more and quickly, Borrell said. In the coming months, the war may be decided. Dude, what bothers me the most in this nonsense is that there are people dying. There are men and women, our brothers and sisters, that are dying over nonsense. And it could have been ended a long time ago. But the United States won't let them sit down at the table. Largely, the blood is on the hands of the American politicians for this. Because I think that if the American politicians wouldn't have kept up this much for this long, I don't think much of Europe and the UK would be taking the stance that they have. I don't think Putin has any interest in becoming Hitler and trying to take over the whole damn UK and EU. So I think his interest begins and ends in Ukraine. Israel's total victory is weeks away, says Netanyahu. Says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has suggested that West Jerusalem's forces will soon achieve total victory in the war against Hamas once they begin a major ground offensive planned at the southern end of the Gaza Strip. You know, to wipe out the rest of them there. Netanyahu's government has faced international pressure to cancel the Rafah campaign because around 1.4 million civilians are taking refuge in the city after being driven from other parts of the Palestinian enclave by Israeli bombardments. Civilians will be evacuated into previously cleared areas to the north of Rafah before the Israeli Defense Forces storm Gaza's last Hamas stronghold, the PM explained. And they've said this stuff all along while they just continue to kill innocent civilians. It's mind-blowing to me. They're doing exactly what I said they were going to do. They're going to wipe out the Palestinians, and they're going to completely take over. There will be no Palestine. There won't be nothing. It is more or less it's genocide. There's no other word to put on it than genocide. Speaking in a CBS News interview on Sunday, Netanyahu said the offensive in Rafah, Gaza, will be briefly delayed if a temporary ceasefire is negotiated with Hamas, but it will happen sooner or later. If we don't have a deal, we'll do it anyway, he said. It has to be done because total victory is our goal, and total victory is within reach, not months away, weeks away, once we begin the operation. Victory is in reach, and you can't have victory until you eliminate Hamas, Netanyahu said. Once we begin the Rafah operation, the intense phase of the fighting is weeks away from completion. So, my question is when is he going after the other Arab nations? Or let me more accurately put it, the other tribes of Israel. When is he going to go after the other tribes of Israel? And then, when's he going to come after the Christians? That's a question that people really need to be asking themselves. I have no idea how people can be so blind to any of this. And I've laid it out so many times. The Christianity and Catholicism go hand in hand. And that is a Roman thing. And of course, tribe of Judah is where Judaism comes from. But there are other tribes of Israel, but you never get to hear about that. And when you look at who is in control of almost all of the religious doctrine on the planet, it's Rome and Israel. And I have to ask the question, well, why would God want the two different groups that were 100% complicit in the death of his only begotten Son to be in charge? The answer is he doesn't. And all you got to do is read the Bible, and it clearly states that God's not in control. Not yet. Will be after he wipes out the Romans and the tribe of Judah. It's in the Bible. It makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. I'm at a loss with it. I wish more people could see it, because maybe this could be stopped. But there again, like I've said many, many, many times, if it could be stopped, it would be in the good book that it could be stopped, and it's simply not in there. this virus, if you will, is going to run its course. Let's see. U.S.-led coalition strikes Yemen's Houthis. The U.S. and UK-led coalition fighting Yemen-based Houthi militants launched a new round of airstrikes on Saturday in response to a recent surge in maritime attacks in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, the Pentagon has said. Since November last year, the militant group has repeatedly attacked naval and commercial vessels, claiming to act in support of the Palestinians amid the Israeli-Hamas war. That didn't come up on my computer. Oh, that was because it was a group. Heck. Since November last year, the militant group has repeatedly attacked naval and commercial vessels, claiming to act in support of the Palestinians. I think I read all that. The fourth joint strike hit 18 targets across 8 locations in Yemen associated with Houthi underground weapons storage facilities, missile storage facilities, one-way attack unmanned aerial systems, air defense systems, radars, and a helicopter, according to a statement released by the coalition, which also includes Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, and New Zealand. The coalition claims the Houthis' attacks demand an international response. The U.S. Defense Department issued a separate statement saying the United States will not hesitate to take action as needed to defend lives and the free flow of commerce in one of the world's most critical waterways. So, let's see. I thought this was kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure how much of this, But as I always say, sometimes the propaganda is more important than the actual information. Because you really need to know what they're trying to convince people of. So that way when they zig, you zag. Rothschild's clans battling over bank clients, says Bloomberg. It says Rothschild's family, Swiss and French branches are battling for dominance in the wealth management industry, which is causing tension and sparking speculation of a merger that would significantly impact the global financial landscape, Bloomberg wrote this week. The Swiss private bank Edmond de Rothschild's Group and the smaller French lender Rothschild and Company are the only remaining banks with links to the family whose name has been a synonym for wealth and power for more than 2 centuries. The Rothschild family emerged from the Jewish ghetto in Frankfurt in the 19th century to become one of the world's richest and most powerful financial dynasties that bankrolled wars and empires and helped shape Europe's economic and political history. Don't forget religious. After decades of operating in relatively different segments, the Swiss and French. I was trying to say Swiss and French at the same time. It just doesn't work. They're now targeting the same wealthy clients. The odds of a merger within the renowned family are now rising as both banks are fighting for a bigger share of the $250 trillion global wealth management industry, the outlet said. They are now targeting similar clients, said Christoph Kunzel, the lecturer on wealth management at Zurich University and Applied Sciences. It's very competitive, and their centuries-old name is a big asset that they are both trying to leverage. So, put them in a cage match. That's what we need. The Rothschilds family, all in a cage match. Give them, steel pipes and... It would be funny. Especially if they put this guy in to referee. Give Pops a bucket of ice cream and just tell him to keep yelling go. Biden's advanced age makes him successful. Yeah, again, the crack in California must be out of this world. So anyway, California Governor Gavin Newsom has tried to bat down worries that U.S. President Joe Biden is too old to seek re-election by claiming that he's thriving because of his advanced years. That's one way of putting it. I've seen him up close. Oh, no thank you. I've seen him from afar. But here's my point. It's because of his age that he's been so successful, Newsom said on Sunday in an NBC News interview. It's because of the wisdom and the character that's developed over the years. Dude's not even mentally there, man. The wisdom, the character are gone. Biden, 81, is already the oldest president in U.S. history and would be 87 by the time he leaves the White House if he serves a full second term. Concerns about his cognitive sharpness were heightened earlier this month when a U.S. Department of Justice special prosecutor investigating the mishandling of classified documents by Biden reported that although he had found evidence of criminal conduct, a jury would be reluctant to convict the sitting president because he comes across as a well-meaning elderly man with a bad memory. Okay, so we had to pick one here. Either he's got a bad memory and shouldn't be president, or he's, how does he put it? Successful. Anyway, I can't stand looking at that picture any longer. Okay, let me do some headlines and run out the door after I have a drink of coffee. Oh, goodness. We should give, like, the presidency to Garfield the cat. What could go wrong with that? Oh, that's right, Garfield died. Biden's not far. When I say Garfield died, there was a cat a real live cat that they kind of called Garfield. He passed away, and I think the guy that did the voice for Garfield passed away. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm pretty sure he did, though. Or the cartoon, I don't know. Something. Let's see. No, he don't have the nuclear codes. The guy that walks around and behind him like a puppy dog has the nuclear codes. So, Biden's just the only one that's supposed to be able to enter them. So, I'm pretty sure that they still kind of have the old system to where there's, I would imagine they're plastic, but they're, the codes, I do believe, are actually sealed. It's not like you can just see them. So when, let's say that time would come, I'm pretty sure both the president and even the men and women down in the silos and stuff, they have to take out this plastic thing and they have to literally break it open. The code's inside of it. They have to break it open to see the code. No, we don't want him doing that. We don't want him doing that. Because it could be a test run, right? They could just be having a drill and the dude trip or pass out or something. And, you know, yeah, no, that was, the UK off the coast of Florida, recently tried shooting a Trident missile out of a submarine, and it failed. And their excuse was the reason it failed was because it didn't have a warhead on it. So, but mind you, that wasn't the first failure. That was the second failure. So, yeah, I think, I don't know. I think it's all messed up. But then, of course, we got to be careful not to take our eyes off the ball here. And the ball isn't nuclear weapons. Like I've said before, nuclear weapons are like sticks and stones at this point. Why would they want to lob a missile through the air that another nation has the opportunity to knock out of the air when they can just shoot something from space right directly at the Earth, meaning like high energy weapons. Nuclear weapons are old technology. Maybe there might be a small exchange, but I have a feeling, let's just say that Russia pushes the button and launches at us. The United States is going to push a button and cook Russia. It's not going to, or they're going to try anyway. It's not going to be a matter of, oh, well, let's launch missiles back. No. We're so far beyond that with technology. By the late 80s, we were getting pretty far moved away from the nuclear weapon technology. But into the 90s, it continued to develop, and then now, I mean, it's been so tight-lipped on what they're doing. It's hard to say what that they have going on right now. But the whole nuclear thing, I think it would be a small exchange. I think after nations knew that it got that serious, we're on that level, I think that's when they're going to unleash the high-energy weapons, the DEW weapons and all of that. So, because they exist. I guarantee you they exist. Let's see. UK baby formula prices at historic highs, says a watchdog. Let's see. West should be bolder in seizing Russian assets, says British PM. Most Germans believe Ukrainian refugees have failed to integrate, says a poll. Yep, mutually assured destruction. And I don't know if... I don't know. I don't think Putin would be willing to do that if he wasn't pushed to do that. I think the United States would full on do it. I think North Korea would full on do it. I think China would full on do it. I don't know that Putin would, though. I think Putin is a pretty diplomatic guy, if they would let him be. Now, howdy, Jason. Let's see. Germany still undecided on long-range weapons for Ukraine, says FM. Early voting opens in Russian presidential election. Ukraine on another retreat in Donbass, says the media. Most Ukraine aid goes right back to U.S. Oh, I covered that. First Abrams tanks sighted near Advidka, and I can't say the name of that place. Vivek Ramaswamy, former Trump rival, tops poll for vice president. I'd rather it be Tucker Carlson, I'll be honest. I've got one big issue with Ramaswamy, and that's the fact that he's got such big ties with the pharmaceutical industry. So if he was VP, I just see it being par for the course. So, G7 pledges to keep bankrolling Ukraine. Kiev demanded victory plan from military with no resources, says Zelensky advisor. Nigeria blocks crypto exchanges. Putin defeated U.S. plan for Russia. Oh, I read that one. Zelensky releases first official Ukrainian casualty count. Hollywood icon says Russia is his personal greatest country on earth. Steven Seagal. Let's see. U.S. media outlet calls for negotiated peace in Ukraine. Let's see. Covered that. And that. CIA has built vast anti-Russian spy network in Ukraine, says New York Times. OSCE violating its mandate, says Moscow. Oh, we got one up there. Let me get that shared out so it's there when we get there. Let's see. Covered that. Half of Western arms arrived late, says Ukrainian defense chief. Man sets himself on fire outside Israeli embassy in Washington. You know, there's a lot more individuals doing self-immolation than what people really know that there is. There's actually been a fair amount of men that have struggled with family courts, and you never hear about that. But there's a fair amount of men that set themselves on fire in front of the White House over what's happening with, in the Capitol building and stuff like that, over what's happening in the family court system. But you very rarely ever hear about it. And I'm sure there's others do it for other reasons too, and you never hear about it. But this time, you hear about it. I wonder why. Let's see. Ukraine doesn't have enough trained F-16 pilots, says White House. And lastly, Zelensky asks Italy to expel Putin supporters. Freaking crazy, man. Completely crazy. Oh, I hear you. I hear you on North Korea having the nukes. I'm not naive. I know where they got them from. I know. I'm not saying that North Korea didn't advance themselves. I think they had help to advance in the beginning with their nuclear adventure. But I think once they've achieved that nuclear adventure, I think they've been getting a lot of support from both Russia and China, to be honest. I think they actually are getting support on the nuclear side of it from Russia and on the missile technology side of it from China. I think between the two, they've got hypersonic weapons now. North Korea has hypersonic weapons, not just, ground-based silo-launched missiles, but they also now have hypersonic submarine missiles. So it's, I think if there's a nuke that goes off, it's probably the highest probability that it's going to be North Korea. Out of all the nations on the planet, I think North Korea is the most likely to use one. So it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with this election. It's a wild card right now. I don't mean it's a wild card as in who people would want to elect. It's a wild card as in what's going to happen. I don't pander for man. That includes Trump. But if the election were tomorrow, he would have it by landslide. It wouldn't even be close. I don't know. I don't think there's a good choice myself. I don't think that we have a good choice. I just don't. I don't think that a quote-unquote good choice is allowed to get up on the stage. So, that's a sad thing. Anyway, I am going to get out of here too, Watchman. That bed's a-calling me. All right, folks, you all have a good evening. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do this again. And have another week at the news. So anyway, I hope, again, you all have a good night. Hope to see you tomorrow night. I appreciate you coming tonight. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.